Hello there. It's been a while, hasn't it? Well, to be honest, I would have loved to be doing this unleashed on a racetrack somewhere instead of dusting off my ignition cobwebs with a bucky. But maybe it's all pretty poetic at the end of the day, given that the Hilux is SA's top-selling vehicle, and we know how much you as South Africans absolutely love the bucky segment. But it's always been one that I'm sure you will remember I could never quite get my head around. Why would you pay so much money for a space that you hardly ever used? So I guess the big question is, can Toyota's latest version of the GRS, their sports model, finally change my opinion? Let's find out. For the Japanese, change is a very slow process. They stick to what they know, they're usually the last to blink, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. Take the Hilux, for example. It's been around since 1968, and this formula that keeps going right for them hasn't changed too much over that time. But what has changed, the competitors are snapping at the heels, vying for the top spots that the Hilux has dominated for so long. So what is different with the sportier GRS version over the rest of the Hilux offerings? Well, not too much actually. They have stuck to the tried and tested. The 2.8-litre diesel turbo is still there and still pet that 6-speed transmission. That solid rear axle with the leaf springs still doing duty. They have upped the performance ever so slightly. 15 kilowatts over the standard Hiluxes, also with the same engine like the Legends, where they're doing 150, this is now 165 kilowatts, and the torque is also up by 50. We're now pushing out 550 Newton meters in the GRS. But what else has changed besides a little bit of extra performance? Well, let's take a look. Well, for starters, it looks a ton load better than the previous generation, and that's thanks to things like the wider track. Up front it's up 140 millimeters, the rear track 155 millimeters wider. Proper standout features, obviously black cladding, it looks proper, it gives it some real curb appeal. Black detailing, look at the grille with the black mesh and the bold Toyota lettering that we've come to love. You've got your black mirrors with a cool little puddle light that puts the logo down on the ground, the door handles, the black runner boards, and they've also obviously added the GRS sports logos, which really do drive home the message that this is a sportier Hilux. But also important for me is its ride height has increased by 20 millimeters. If you look at the wheels, yeah, they've brought out all new 17-inch wheels that are a little bit lighter, and then of course they go and fill the wheel arches with these imposing all-terrain tires. So all around, top job. Finally, a Hilux GRS that people will look at. Now what is pretty cool is they have gone and linked the tailgate to the central locking. I mean, this isn't groundbreaking, but I'm glad they finally got around to doing it. A nice addition as well is they've added lighting into the load area. So you put your hand over the sensor, the lights come on, but come on, what are you thinking? The lights with their position, where they are sitting, that for me is going to get broken off so easily if you do end up using the load bay. So for me, nice touch, but they could have done that a lot better. You then also do obviously have your 12-volt chargers, 2 of them up in the back. So if you are converting into overlanding, want to run fridges and external lights, you can do that as well. So good job on that. So the interior follows the same route. There is nothing outlandish or in your face. It's a comfortable and also very familiar space. You've got lots of hints of red detailing to remind you that this is a sportier persona you're dealing with. And if you do forget, obviously GR badging throughout the interior. Things that I do like, the steering is multifunction, so everything you need is right at your fingertips. From a driving perspective, the steering wheel is height and reach adjustable, which for me is crucial. The driver's seat also is adjustable electronically, but to be fair, everything here feels feels very 2016. There's nothing new, there's nothing wow, there's nothing certainly that's going to get the competition worried. What is good though, from an overall driving and safety perspective, is the uprating of the brakes. With that extra performance, they've put slightly bigger ventilated front discs on. We've gone from 16-inch to 17, but probably most crucial for me is it used to have drum brakes at the rear, and now we're running with 15-inch ventilated discs back there as well. This is obviously super important. Now, Toyota haven't elaborated with how they've tweaked the suspension. They've just said they've made some changes. So I'm assuming pretty subtle, but yeah, they've worked with the overall drive quality and comfort. But I think the single biggest thing that has made a massive difference to how this GRS drives compared to the other Hiluxes out there is the wider track. It's just so much more stable and compliant. There's a great feel through the steering wheel as well. I know they've made some adjustments there, but all over, not just on the tar road, but in particular on the gravel, that is where you really feel it. Obviously, we're running with all-terrain tires, and I find if you do go and drop tire pressures, they tend to run them a little bit too hard coming out of factory in terms of standard conditions. We've dropped them to 2 bars in the front, 1.8 in the rear when you've got no load, and it really is so good. Obviously, it comes with vehicle stability control and all the driver and safety aids that you can imagine, but on the dirt road, it is really an impressive operator. I also like the tweaks they've made to the wheel. It feels a lot more direct and precise. Any feedback you put in, you immediately feel it through the drive experience. So I know they're trying to push the sportier persona, and I think you really do feel that on dirt roads and in those sort of conditions. So to answer that question I posed earlier, do I think bakkies are worth their price tag? No. I still think it's a crazy amount of money that you're paying for a square meterage that you very seldom use. But I'm also a realist, and I know that you as consumers are not going to take my logical considerations into mind, because you buy bakkies because you love how they look. You love their road presence and the status. You also love being able to say, hey man, I can go anywhere, I can throw anything in the back, even though you very seldom do either. Now, bakkies across the board, the high end, top of the range, you're looking at $1 million. This is 10 Rand shy basically. And if I look at it and I look at the competitors and I look at this model, I would kind of say that I think you're going to get more bang for your $1 million looking at the competitors, because they do come with the latest gadgetry and the lifestyle tech that I know so many of you love. But I think the real question, and this is what drives sales for Toyota, is how much money do you put to a badge? You also do buy bakkies based on heritage, and that is where Toyota really trumps the competition.